Hi moms, great to be with you again. Well, this video is our last and final video of this Moms Group season, and I just want to applaud you guys for taking time to pour into yourselves and into your families by being a part of groups, getting together in communities, listening to these videos, growing yourself and growing your families. So I pray that it has been a blessing for you. I'm so excited to share a talk with you today, our final talk for the season. But before I share that, I do want to say, even though we're taking a break from providing content, if you've built some really great community, keep getting together. Get together, go on walks, do coffee dates, drop your kids off at summer groups here at church, whatever you can to just stay connected. Because honestly, community builds on itself. And if you've already built some community, don't lose it over the summer. Continue to build and you're going to be blessed for it. So, well, my talk today is one that is something I'm very passionate about. And first of all, I want to start off by telling you that every Sunday night, my family and I have family movie night. And it is a very special night for us. We do it every Sunday night. And, maybe some of you do that too on different nights of the week. But, it's the night where I literally make on the stove homemade popcorn. Okay, this is a big deal to my kids. We get out the water bottles. My husband goes downstairs and he moves the couch and he moves the TV in just the right angle so that you're gonna get the perfect view. We get out our blankets, we put our feet up, and Dad and Mom pick out the movie for family movie night. That's at least the way that we do it. And I have to tell you that picking out a family-friendly, fun, good quality movie for viewing of 8 and 11-year-olds isn't always the easiest thing to do. I mean, we've seen some whoppers. Let me just tell you, some pretty bad acting and some pretty slow-moving movies, but hey, they were clean. But every once in a while, we will find a gem. And this past Sunday night, we found one of those gems. And the movie was called The Girl Who Believes in Miracles. And you guys, this movie so impacted our family, and it impacted us all in different ways. I won't go through all of that with you to tell you our expression of how we experienced this movie, but what I want to tell you is that when we hear stories of people who share miracles, things that God has done, impossible things that God has done, I am telling you what, it increases our faith and it helps us believe that, what? Jesus didn't just do miracles back in the day, he is still doing them today. And it's important that we continue to fuel our faith to believe in miracles, because let's be honest, we're not always talking about miracles. I mean, I don't know about you, but usually when people ask me how I am, and they see me and they're like, "Hey, Sarah, how are you today?" I don't usually say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so great. Let me tell you about the past 5 miracles that God did just this past weekend." I mean, that's not usually what I say. I wish it was, but it's not. But I believe that it can be. You see, I really believe that we can live a culture of the miraculous. But it takes focus, it takes expectancy, it takes belief, and it takes the power of Jesus. So we're going to talk about this a little bit because I believe that what Jesus said in John 14 is really meant to happen. Now, I'm going to read the scripture to you from the Message translation, okay? But here it goes. This is Jesus talking. "The person who trusts me will not only do what I am doing, but even greater things. Because I, on my way to the Father, am giving you the same work to do that I've been doing. You can count on it. From now on, whatever you request, along the lines of who I am and what I'm doing, I'll do it." So in this, I really believe that Jesus was telling us that those of us who trust in him and believe in him can live in a culture full of miracles, where miracles are the norm, not the exception. I mean, oftentimes, I think many miracles are right in front of us, but we miss them because we aren't looking for them. We aren't expecting them. We're not praying for them. I want to tell you a story that happened with my kids and I about a year ago. We went to Urban Air. It's a trampoline park, which my kids love, and I used to love until I don't know, I get headaches now and I jump up and down, and I will say we went this past weekend and I had to pray for a miracle right then and there because my back hurt. So anyway, we were at Urban Air about a year ago. And it was just me and my kids. And there's this area in Urban Air where it's a Ninja Warrior spot, where it is filled with tons of these like white little plastic balls. And then it has all these things that you climb and you have to get across without falling into the balls. And the balls are significantly deep. I mean, I feel for these little kids, like these wee little ones. And I'm like, I hope you don't get lost in the balls, right? Because I don't know if you can swim. So we're in the Ninja Warrior area. And there's this one spot in the area where there are kind of a couple of people just hanging out. And so we didn't go to that area. So we played, we went up and down and all around. And, we were there for probably a good half an hour. And we wanted to play where those people were. But we're like, they're still there. And some of them are adults. And I'm thinking, why are you guys hanging out in this ball pit area? Like, it's not a hot tub. Like, this is for children. And so I paid a little bit more attention, and I noticed that they kind of were looking around. I'm like, oh no, somebody lost a contact. So anyway, I go up to them and I'm like, hey, what are you guys like? Are you looking for something? What's going on? And the guy says, we lost a cell phone. And I'm like, oh no. And then, you kind of feel this thing inside where you're like, I'm having fun. I love my life. And then you're like, I should really help out and do something about this. So I turn to my kids and I'm like, you guys, we should really help them. And they're like, okay, they were up for it. So I look at all of the balls and I'm like, this is like literally a needle in a haystack. I mean, for real. The balls are up to my thighs. Like, it's deep. So I'm like, okay, you guys, I tell my kids, we got to pray. So I pray out loud with, like, there's probably, 8 people in this space now looking for this phone. I pray out loud, God, please, I pray that you would direct us to help us to find this cell phone. And I don't know exactly what I prayed, but I prayed out loud. And then we all decided to stand in a row, and we were all going to just like comb through it to see if we could find it. So on the count of 3, it was like, okay, 1, 2, 3. And I go down to get ready to comb. And literally I put my left hand down and I feel something. And I'm like, no way. And I pull up the cell phone. I hadn't even taken a step. I was like, yeah, Jesus for the win. And so I said, hey, I found the cell phone. Everybody cheers. The guy was like, oh, that's great. And then he says this, oh, there were 2. What? There's 2 cell phones, 2 needles in the haystack? Are you kidding me? So I'm like, okay, Jesus, help me. So we're like, all right, okay, let's go. We got to comb. I literally, I can't believe it. I'm like, how do you lose 2 cell phones? Go down, get ready to comb, stick my right hand in. Guess what I feel? You guys, I'm not making this up. I pull out the second cell phone. You guys, I didn't even walk anywhere. They were just right there. They were right there. And I'm like, I found the second cell phone. I mean, it had been seconds. And so everybody's rejoicing. They're great. They take them. They leave. And I look at my kids and I say, you guys, that was a miracle. Jesus just did a miracle right here in the ball pit of Urban Air. And my kids are excited. And we went on and we got to play and everything was good. Well, I am telling you what, that rocked our faith. It rocked my faith. It rocked my kids' faith. And I was just like, wow, God really did something there. He didn't have to do that, but he did. And I really believe God wants to do more of those types of miracles where we just trust him for the little things. Well, another story I want to share with you is I was talking with a teacher at our school. And the high school students at our school went on a missions trip. I want to say last fall. I'm not exactly sure if that was the time, but I think it was last fall. And they went to Portugal, and they went on this mission trip. And the teacher was telling me how the kids saw this blind woman. And as a group, they prayed for this blind woman, and she literally got her sight. And I was like, that's incredible. It totally rocked the kids, the teachers, everybody around, the person, obviously, who is blind. Great story. But there was something that rocked me even more than that story. It was what the teacher and I talked about after that. So I talked with her because I knew that she had done some other mission things in other countries and seen miracles. And I had said to her, isn't it interesting that, when you're overseas, you just see these like radical miracles that you don't see in the U.S.? Like, do you find that interesting? And she goes, no. She said, I see miracles like this, like I did there, here in Minneapolis all the time. And I'm like, excuse me? What? Really? Like, I don't. I'm like, tell me about that. And she said, this is what she said that changed me. She said, when you surround yourself in a community of believers who actually believe in miracles, pray for miracles, and expect them, it happens all the time. Again, my faith grew. My belief grew. We can live in a miracle culture. We just have to believe it and surround ourselves with others that believe it and pray together. You know, I love how our pastor, Pastor Carolyn, talks about keeping a miracle journal. And I have my little miracle journal with me right here. I started doing it when she talked about it. And, you know, just having the act of having this miracle journal is like a physical representation of my faith. Like if I really didn't believe miracles were going to happen, I wouldn't have a journal. Now, I'm not going to tell you that every page is packed full of the miraculous, but I'm telling you that I am more expectant for miracles because I'm ready to write miracles in my journal. One of my miracle stories in my journal was when my mom had cancer, and she had a lot of pain, and she went for days with just so much pain. And there were times where I had nothing else to do. I laid my hands on her and I just prayed, and I prayed against the pain. And you guys, there were times, not every time, but there were times where like that, all of her pain left. I mean, she was at like a 9 or 10 and she went down to like a 1 or 0. That was God. I wrote it down. There are times, so many times in our household, and maybe you've experienced this too, where your kids come to you and they're like, Mom, I can't find whatever it is every single day, multiple times a day, right? And you get this question. And we have just created a culture where we stop and we just ask Jesus to help us find it. And I can't tell you how many times immediately we find the thing, or 5 minutes later, we find the thing. You know what? I write it down in my journal and I give God the credit. Yeah, could it have been a coincidence? Maybe. But why not give God the credit? I mean, He created everything. Let's just give Him the credit for the good things that happen. I really believe that God does big and small miracles. You know, I'm not ashamed to say that parenting my own kids is a motivation for me to grow in my faith. I mean, if I want them to have faith and believe in the miraculous, I first need to be the example of believing and praying and trusting God and speaking it out and declaring it. If I don't, they're not going to either. I want my home and family to be an environment of seeing and noticing the miraculous and then giving God the credit. And then remembering, let's tell that miracle story over and over again. You guys, my kids and I, every time we go to Urban Air, we talk about those cell phones and we say, look what God did. God did a miracle, because I want them, the next time they encounter a situation that seems impossible, I want them to remember that God did a miracle and He can do it again. You know, in Mark 16:17-18, it says, "And these signs will accompany those who believe. In my name, they will drive out demons. They will speak in new tongues. They will pick up snakes with their hands. And when they drink deadly poison, it will not hurt them at all. They will place their hands on sick people and they will get well." Those who, what? Believe. That's what Jesus said. What if we believed this was actually true and we lived our life in this belief that we can live in a culture of miracles? You know, when I was in that ball pit at Urban Air, it felt a little risky, praying that prayer out loud for the cell phone of somebody who lost it. And I know other people besides my kids heard me. But I am so glad that I took the risk of looking silly or foolish, that I took the risk. I prayed, I believed, I expected it, and God showed up. And He showed my kids that He's a miraculous God. He showed those people that He's a miraculous God. And He showed me again that He was a miraculous God. I just want to close by saying, you know, it always doesn't happen. I've prayed so many prayers that I haven't seen the miracle yet. Who's to say that it won't happen later? Who's to say that God won't do a miracle later? Who's to say God may not do the miracle that I'm praying for, but He will do a different type of miracle. And maybe that miracle is just inside of me, inside of my heart. Maybe the miracle is just inside my kids to help them grow in faith. So even if you don't get everything that you pray for, don't be discouraged. because God has a plan and a purpose for your life. He loves you, and He is a miraculous God, and He will continue doing miracles forever and ever. So let's build a miracle culture, you guys. Let's do it together. Let's believe together. Let's encourage one another, and let's set the path for our kids to do the same. Well, I pray you guys have a great summer. I pray that you enjoy community, and we will see you right back here with more videos with Moms Group in the fall. Love you so much. Take care.